So the primary approach in DevOps, whoever takes up DevOps as their skill. So it can be an architect, a software developer, a fresher who want to venture into the IT field and get into the roles of either into the agile methodology from the legacy waterfall model. So DevOps is the primary course one has to pursue to get into the market. So in this DevOps approach, what would be covered is that what exactly is DevOps? It's an approach to the software development to speed up the application delivery process. So any feature enhancements to the software delivery would be taken up in this DevOps journey. So a developer does a git commit to the code for a continuous improvement or enhancement of his application. Either it could be front-end services or back-end. So they need a platform wherein they can only concentrate on their failures and improve on the delivery of a product. That's where this DevOps approach comes into picture. So if you look at the tools which are used in the current, Raghav, let me know if you're able to see my screen.
No, the screen is not visible though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, now I can hear. Thank you.
Yeah. So in the current market, Jenkins is the automation platform which is used across the corporate world to do the CI and CD process. So for git commit patterns, when our version control systems, we have many tools like GitHub, Bitbucket, and TFS. When it comes to the build servers, for Java applications, we have Maven, and for .NET, we use MS Build, and for other Java applications, we have Gradle. So these are the build servers which are integrated with Jenkins. Then comes once your build is compiled and it has to go through the testing phase, then the test results have to be published, and that's where in the market most of the corporates use a SonarQube. So what we do is that we integrate to the Jenkins orchestration build server, SonarQube, and that displays your code quality analysis reports. If you have a good code quality, then the pipeline goes to the next stage. If it's an image, when I say image, if you are into the Kubernetes platform, then we use a security tools called Aquascan, which checks for code vulnerabilities. And if is as per the CVE standards, which is more than 70% good, and then it goes to the next stage, that is deployment stage, where we deploy either to any of these platforms. If you look at the end images, we deploy either to VMware. The VMware has its on-premise cloud where you have Windows servers, Linux servers, either to AWS or Azure or IBM Bluemix. The CD part mostly comes into picture where the release orchestration tools are used. Example, Ansible Tower, Xivia Labs release, udeploy, and few other tools. So this is the entire flow for the CI/CD automation. So this is where we call a DevOps approach to you develop, you push, make a changes to your code and deploy till the end. The pipeline takes care of deploying till the end, and you can see the changes which were implemented on the development environment. And as part of this course, we have around 10 tools that would be covered. Like if you build or compile a Java application, you need dependencies which come from JFrog. So JFrog is used to download dependencies and also to publish an artifact. So this covers the entire flow of CI/CD. Now, the next stage is whether we choose the legacy way of doing the things. Jenkins can be installed on the physical Linux boxes, or it can be deployed as a container on Kubernetes platform. The much advantage with if you deploy a Jenkins build server onto the container platform is that the moment the build gets completed, the pod gets released. So that's the advantage. We don't have to allocate separate a physical box, Linux box, for a Jenkins build server. So this is how the current market are using the Jenkins build server. So I did the same thing here. I'll give you just 5 minutes demo of what was done. We have installed Jenkins container, and it's running in Kubernetes platform. If you see here, our pod is running, the Jenkins server is running, and we are exposed a service URL. We are able to access the Jenkins build server. Now, this is how it looks like. There's a tab called Manage Jenkins cog button. That's where we integrate with version control system like GitHub and Bitbucket, and then Nexus, JFrog Artifactory, Sonar Cube, and then the CD tools like Zebia Labs, Excel Release, udeploy. What we do basically is we write a shared library, pipeline as a code, and then whenever you check out a code to your GitHub repository, it triggers the build. So I have written a simple hello world snippet. How do we create a job? When it comes to Jenkins, the code which is checked out from your GitHub goes into the workspace of your agent of Jenkins build server. And each stage is called as a task, and a set of tasks are performed in one stage. So these are the canonical terms or terminology in Jenkins. When we go to in details of what the workspace is, what is the stage in Jenkins, we can discuss during that time. So just to show you what it is. Okay, so each component is deployed into one workspace. What is a stage? A subset of steps with a common objective. And what is the step? A single task to perform inside a project. Now let's do that. I created a sample build called Hello World, and it has a snippet. If you look at the If you want to run the build, you use a button called build now, and then the build gets triggered. But if you have a pipeline, it does this is how it gets executed. Now, if you want to create a new project in Jenkins, click on new item and then click on the pipeline. So what is pipeline? Pipeline is nothing but a sequence of steps that should be executed in sequence to achieve your target state. So click on the give the project name Hello World Node.js, create a pipeline, click OK, and give the pipeline sequence of commands. Let's say it's a Hello World application created as it goes and runs towards this particular agent. Your pipeline is ready, and then you want to run this particular build. You go and click on this particular job project, and then hit on build now. This sequence gets executed. Similarly, if you want to add more sequence of steps to the existing job, we go and click on configure button and go to the pipeline and keep adding the stages. Stage 1, you do a checkout of code. Stage 2, you build the Maven application. Stage 3, you want to publish your code into the JFrog Artifactory. Even before you are publishing to JFrog Artifactory, you want to do the code quality analysis and display the code quality reports to SonarQube, and finally deploy to the target environment, that is dev or production box. So this is how we take care of entire CI/CD process. So if you want to venture into DevOps jobs, so this is where this is the course where you would be taught on the skills of how to commit a code, how to create a feature branches, what is Git flow, what is GitHub flow, how to integrate the tools like Maven, Gradle, and Node as part of the build server, how to write a shared library, how to write pipeline as a code. What is Docker? How do we deploy the build servers, that is build server called Jenkins as a container inside a pod of a Kubernetes platform, either OpenShift or any of the Kubernetes on-prem Kubernetes platform called Rancher. So all this would be taught, and then you would be taught how to integrate, how to trigger the CD job using Ansible, how the Ansible goes and deploys to the target environment. That is, if you have built a Java application, you want to deploy it to the target server and access the URL, the deployed application, you can do that. Similarly, if you are this CI/CD process takes care of deploying any microservices, that could be taken care as well. So a total of 10 plus, and then we integrate either the JFrog or Nexus to publish your artifacts. So this is how the course will go along. Let me take you to the tools or the teams who can pursue this one. Okay, before going to who should pursue, if teams write a shared library, this is how a snippet which I am just sharing looks like. Shared library is nothing but a common set of tasks, the pipeline projects would process your code and publish your artifacts to your target Nexus or JFrog Artifactory. So if you have a shared library written by your development team, all the application development teams can onboard to this particular CI/CD shared library and can then use that platform to build their code and um, deliver their projects as soon as possible using an iterative manner. So we would also be discussing about what is TDD, test driven development, what is behavioral development, BDD, behavioral driven development, what is functional tests. So these things would come under stage as part of stage testing. And for scanning, once the test phase goes through, what is fail fast if your test cases fail, and once it goes through a scanning stage where the prepared image, target image is ready to be published, we have Acco scan. So there would be two pipelines. One pipeline would be for a containerized environments, microservice containerized environment. The other one would be traditional, where you check in a code to your GitHub. From there, the build triggers, then the testing phase goes through, and then the scanning happens not of the image but a regular code, which would be taken care by JFrog has a tool called X-ray, where it does the vulnerability check and then deploy to the target environment. So this is the entire set of tools which would be covered as part of DevOps course. Now, who should pursue this? Any engineer who want to get into the DevOps, and who are also want to move from middleware technologies to DevOps, and who want to move from admin side, who want to move from database side, who is a Scrum Master, who is Agile, who is into any roles of the Agile team, or an architect who want to know this process. This is the place where they can get and learn the practicals of how to do and how to set up the entire CI/CD pipeline for their project. And any questions, Raghav?
Sure.
Yeah.
So will we actually, so these, we have seen a lot of tools, right, Shravan? So will we actually go and deploy this on our desktops or our personal computers?
Yes, would be, yes. In the sense, you should, if you are joining this course, you are supposed to have your own laptop. It's a mandatory. And what we do is we connect, your code goes into GitHub.
Correct.
So this is where, so this is covered. So Bitbucket is by Atlassian. So we don't venture into that because companies use Atlassian Bitbucket. So we will use the GitHub. What we do is we will clone the code, we will create an account. Similarly, when we are downloading the public image registries, we will have to create an account. At each stage, I'll be guiding the teams to create an account, create a tokens to download the respective images. And similarly, we would be creating our accounts in public JFrog cloud to publish our own artifacts. Similarly, I just created an account over here where we publish our images. Similarly, for JFrog Cloud, we publish the artifacts there. And to deploy our artifacts, developed artifacts to the target environment, we use Ansible. So we would be touching upon all these tools as part. So what we do is we go to the Jenkins console and we start integrating all these tools. There's no question on that. So how to integrate, how to generate the tokens, how to add it, how to add the normal users, how to add credentials. All this would be covered as part of this course.
For deployment, we'll probably have our own VM and then deploy on it, or
either choice is yours. If you want to deploy the developer, basically we have all sample applications for Node.js, Java, and Python. And the target environment can be either your own physical box, or if you have a EC2 instance running in AWS,
You can have.
give me an IP, we'll add it, we'll deploy over there.
Okay, understood.
That's how the course will go through. Yeah. So whenever the team forms, a quorum of team forms, we would start this course.
Okay. How long would it generally take?
We would be doing for 21 days.
Okay.
Because Monday, so we have to keep integrating at each stage all these tools and deploy.
Yeah.
The good thing is that now all these tools come as an images. Either if you want to do it in the physical boxes, in the sense you install a Maven, put it in C drive, and give the path in the Jenkins server, or you deploy it in your container environment. Sonar Cube also comes as an image. Start it in a pod and integrate that URL into your OpenShift container. We have many. If you see here, if you want to integrate Maven, click on add, point to the Maven location where it is installed.
Yeah.
And similarly, if you want to install Docker, and then if you want to point to your Ant, choose that particular path and point to that.
Okay. And then we will go through the building blocks of the pipeline and all those things, right, in terms of how it's structured.
Yeah. How to write a custom pipeline as a code, shared library. That's how it will go through. That's it. I think I have covered all the tools which would be part of this course for the entire DevOps methodology.
Yeah. That's good. So we'll wait for other people to come in, and then that's when we start.
That Amrita team would decide if we get a good quorum of employees, corporate, and then we'll start up a batch. Basically, it would be like on the working days, Monday to Friday, based on the convenient timings. Like
during the day,
morning.
Morning.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Early morning.
Yep. We're doing that.
That's good, Shravan. It's interesting in terms of what you cover.
Yeah. Any other questions? Who joined? Funny? Any questions you have?
Yeah. Do we need a programming language?
No, I am not from the programming background. So we have written, everything is templatized in the sense, if you want to write a pipeline, there is a console in Jenkins called script console. Just we have to go there, and I'll just show you one simple snippet. We just create the scripting console for Jenkins. We can pick up the stages. If you see here, right, sample. See the entire pipeline stages come down.
Okay, got it.
So, and then obviously we will have to update accordingly the stages. Like if you want to publish our artifacts to JFrog, then we have to just go there and give the URL, cloud URL of JFrog. So as part of this course, what we'll be doing is we will be completely using cloud-based technologies like our JFrog. We'll be publishing to the JFrog Artifactory or Nexus. Just point that URL in our Jenkins build server. Similarly, for check-in and check-out of code, we'll be using the public software as a service GitHub. Similarly, to publish a developed container image, we would be using any of the GKE tools, Kubernetes platforms. All these are free tools. We can get on to, if you want to create a Kubernetes engine, just create your account in GCP, Google Container Platform. In that, choose GKE and then our image, and then finally created image will deploy over there, so that you can see once the application is deployed, your service is deployed. And we would also be integrating tools like SonarQube, where we see the code quality reports.
Okay, would you mind share this recording, because I was on the other training, like a Kubernetes training, so I joined late. So I just wanted to go through that, and I'll come back.
Oh, sure. Funny. Yeah. Srilata madam is there, so she'll be sharing this video. Yeah.
Sure.
So we are not restricting ourselves to the legacy way of doing the things, because DevOps process has started almost like 5 years ago. The birth of DevOps started way back, but it started picking up like 5 to 6 years ago, and then now the things have changed. No more Jenkins runs on a legacy physical boxes. Jenkins now, even if you see, this is running as a pod. So my Jenkins is running in a container. So all our tools would be containerized. So it's running on, my Jenkins is running on a Kubernetes platform. I am accessing my Jenkins build server. It's not, do not think that this is running from the physical box. It's rather, it's a container which we are accessing. And the pipeline as a code which we are going to develop would be running against the parts which would be scaled horizontally in Kubernetes platform. What that means is that the more number of builds you run, the more number of pods increase in our Kubernetes platform. And the good thing about moving the Jenkins build server into containerization is that the moment the build gets completed, your Jenkins agent dies off and gets released. But in the legacy way of doing CI/CD process is that if you install Jenkins on a physical boxes, that physical box you are allocating dedicatedly for that purpose only. So if you have a Jenkins running on your laptop, so all the builds, and we treat that laptop as a Jenkins build server. So you cannot use for other purpose, right? So many, the moment you check in a code into the GitHub and create a feature branches and master branch and the release branches, builds keep running on your Jenkins server. But if you are running, and then once the build is completed, it has to release your laptop where your build server is. That doesn't happen. It keeps running. But in case of here, it's a build server where your pod gets released immediately and it's ready to take up the next build, which is in the sequence. That's the advantage. And the pipeline which we are going to discuss is a declarative pipeline. So the advantage with the declarative pipeline is from current state to what is the expected state which you want to achieve. We go to achieve that, we go with the declarative pipeline. Also in that, we go with the parallel builds. What parallel sequence and serial sequence we would be discussing when we start writing pipeline. So if you want to see that, I have a few images which, yeah, here it is. Here, if you see this, parallel execution in declarative pipeline. What is declarative pipeline? And it gives you a simplified opinionated syntax. So if you see this, when you check in the code to the GitHub, and it has to download dependencies, right? From, if it is a Hello World Node.js application, it has to download dependencies from JFrog or Nexus. It goes in a sequential fashion, and then let's assume that there are two test cases that has to be executed in parallel. Then you write a pipeline in such a way that these two stages get executed in parallel. And then we would be discussing what is pipeline as a code, what is shared library as well. And we would be writing practically the pipeline for our CI/CD implementation. All right. If no more questions, thank you for joining this session. And I'd be expecting that as soon as the core team forms, we would be starting our DevOps course.
Okay, that's great, Shravan. Looking forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining the session.
Thank you.
Yeah.